What does one say to an ancient Nephilim ghost?
I suppose you start with...
I like you.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another video. Diablo 3 Season 28. We're going to show you how to crush GR120 on your Demon Hunter in 2 minutes. So 2 minutes 10 is the best time so far. Obviously you do need a little bit of RNG to go your way to get clears like that. But most of the clears are kind of 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. It will depend. There are RNG factors, you know, at this level of speed farm, only 3 days into the season. But we'll go through it. We'll show you all the gear pieces, show you how to set up the follower, all the roles and things like that. And don't get me wrong, this build isn't perfect. It could certainly be improved. And this is time's just going to get faster. Or we're going to be able to up the difficulty maybe to 125. Maybe not quite that high, but we'll see where we go with it. Before we do jump in, though, as always, guys, thumbs up brightens my day. Let me know what you got out of your GR70 clear, your first primal. Was it a keeper, or did you use it to unlock the altar? Just for sake of clarity, so that we're all understanding, altar is fully unlocked on this build. So we've got all the seasonal powers, all the elite damage, boss damage, move speed, resource on crits, all those things. It is a fully juiced up altar. Gears of Dreadlands, we're not going to just go through it. All you need to do is left click every 4 seconds to add a momentum stack. At 20 stacks, you deal the max damage. Now, you can either click every second and keep them at 20, which is roughly what I do, or you can let them drop off a little bit and then click again. I try and click once a second. That's how I do it, and that's the most damage. We also get tons of move speed on the 4-piece with this, and then the 6-piece is just like insane, not so bonkers damage. Modifiers, of course, the Series Satchel. This goes in the cube. I like this in the cube because it gives you the 600%, which is really nice. It means you can make a Primal Dawn with the recipe in the cube on page 11. Craft your own Primal. That's really nice because what it will allow you to do is get the maximum roll on Vengeance cooldown, 65%. So that means our Sheet cooldown we're looking for, wow, that's pretty high with all the shrine buffs and stuff. Sheet cooldown we're looking for is 37.5, 38, something like that. But obviously with the season theme, with these shrines, we get just bonkers cooldown. So you don't need to sweat it too much. I've rolled 4 cooldown. Sheet at like 38, 39, just that I know I'm always golden with it, even if we don't have the cooldown shrine activated. We certainly could skip out on a couple of cooldown rolls and add some area damage to the build. Other modifiers, we've got the Hunter's Wrath. Again, I like this in the cube. Again, the same reason, it's a big modifier. If we can get the maximum 200%, then that is so much the better. So that means the other modifier, the Depth Diggers, we do have to put on the character. Try and get near to 100%. Obviously, I've got lucky with these. They've dropped perfect. And you can roll Hungering Arrow damage 15% here. Hungering Arrow damage 15% on Belt. So that's another 30% damage that you can add. Guardians early on is adding an awful lot to us, which is very nice because it's giving us the double main stat and double vitality. So we're pretty tanky. We've managed to actually just completely drop the cheat death off here. The follower will be carrying it. So we don't need 2 cheat deaths. So this adds a lot of tankiness and it also adds a lot of damage as well. At some point, of course, this comes off. The Hunter's Wrath belt goes on the character. Depth Diggers go in the cube. And we basically go for the Wraps of Clarity. Drop the Rogue and then go for Convention of Elements. Other modifier is the Squirts. This is like my weakest gear piece by far. So Cold, double crit, and Socket would be amazing. I've just got Cold, one of the crits, and also the Dexterity. So again, a big damage bump here. Want to get a nice one. I haven't reforged this at all yet. I just haven't put any mats into it. So again, we could improve this there quite easily. What else? Fortress Ballista. Again, this is not a great gear piece for me, but what it does is when you attack, you get a shield. This has got a pretty rubbish shield roll on it of 2.1%. You need that nearer to 3 because the bigger the shield, the more uptime you have on your squirty squirts. And of course, having a big squirts is the best.
That's what she said.
Area damage and cooldown are basically what you're looking for on your weapons. You don't have to sweat damage percent quite so much because it only applies half of it because it adds up the weapons. So you have to take 2 10% damage rolls to get the 10% damage. But of course, ideally you would want 10% damage cooldown and max area damage on both. But that's going to be quite hard to get early on. Again, max shield on here. Massive area damage, could get that up a little bit, and damage percent, and also, you know, a higher damage roll on the weapon itself would also help me out a bunch. Another couple hundred damage we can pick up here. Focus and restraint give us modifiers, so 50% damage multiplier when we hit with the Hungering Arrow, 50% damage multiplier when we hit with the Strafe. Works out to be pretty good. Again, I've got double crit on both, but you really want either area damage or damage instead of the main stat. But again, it's only day 3 of the season, so we can't really expect everything to be perfect. But they're the gear pieces that I could clean up. The rings, amulet. I could craft a better Guardians for the 6% crit. I probably should do that. That's why I haven't augmented this piece, because I know it's a bit more of a transient one. Plus, maybe at some point I go to the Raptor Clarity, so it feels a little bit like a waste of an augment, because eventually we will go off this. But that's it. Other than that, all the rest of the stuff is ancient. It is augged. I haven't rolled strafe damage off my boots. What a numpty.
What are you? An idiot sandwich.
We're picking up life per second here, so it's not really a big deal, but that would help us a little bit as well, I suppose. For your gloves, double crit, definitely. You also are looking probably for an area damage roll somewhere on your gloves or on your shoulders, because again, we can squeeze a little bit more in there. So ideally, if you had the perfect weapons with cooldown, area damage percent, you definitely would be able to drop maybe even both these cooldown rolls for area damage, because you'd just be relying a little bit more on the season theme and the shrines and that kind of stuff. Damage gems, simplicity, strength, 121 ranks. Again, another 29 ranks to go on this once we start blasting 150. Brain of the Trapped is at 130, so another 20 to go on here, and then another 28 levels to go on the Taeguk. So again, all these things are just basically straight damage, and that's what we're looking to stuff into the build. So basically, it's max damage setup, main stat of 25k. So as we get up to like 2k Paragon, as we get these gems up to 150, as we clean up these gear pieces, yeah, maybe I'm getting a bit more optimistic that we can up this maybe to the 125, certainly something around there. That is all the gear and all of the rolls. Let's just have a little quick look-see at the skills. Hungering Arrow, Devouring Arrow, obviously that means we want cold on braces and cold on amulets. Strafe Drifting Shadow to keep up the move speed. Wolf Companion for the little bit of extra damage this provides when you activate it. Fan of Knives, I've gone for Bladed Armor, pump up the defense a little bit. I can't really think of too much else that goes in this slot, but I'm open to suggestions. Smokescreen Displacement is a move speed ability. It also allows us to potentially dodge some incoming damage. Really hard to keep up your squirts though. 120s with Electrify and all this stuff on the ground. If you're a better player than me, I'm a bit potato, but you can use your smokescreen defensively is what I'm getting at. Vengeance, again, another modifier for damage. 50% damage reduction from Dark Heart is lovely, lovely. And then again, passive wise, we're just basically slamming as much damage in as we can. So ambush, high health enemies take more damage. Thrill the Hunt, Hatred Spender slows. That activates Call of the Week for another 20% damage. And archery, we've got 2 hand crossbows, so that's another 10% crit chance. And that's it. We're stuffing it with damage. Now, don't sleep on your follower. This is a big source of damage here. You want to get her intelligence up to 25,000. You want to get a Cannot Die token. The way that we're going to cheese this early on is by using a Guardian set. To get intelligence main stat, even if you don't have a character made, is just make a level 1 character and you can make the Guardians on that and it will drop with intelligence hopefully. A Rogue allows us to basically take only 2 pieces of the Guardians, because the third slot is of course a Bracer. We don't want to lock out the Nemesis, so we are taking Oculus for damage, and then just as much int as you can get to get up to this 25,000. You obviously then therefore don't want to be doing key farming with this build, because you're not going to benefit from the Broken Crown, so extra gem drops you won't get, but you would get the canes in for the extra keys. Again, you'd lose the Avarice Band, So I'm just swapping in between the Templar. I'm using the Templar for keys. I'm using the Enchantress for speed GRs. In terms of the skills, 10% elemental damage. It's a nice thing here because we've only got, I think, 40% elemental. So another 10 is probably about 8% damage, something like that. So it's pretty nice. Erosion, I've no idea how often this goes off. I've no idea where it is on the floor. But theoretically, if an enemy so happens to land in it, you get an extra 10% damage. I think that's probably more useful than the damage reduction. So again, stacking max damage. And then she is going to have to take the cheat death because basically I've decided that I'd rather have 10% crit chance rather than the attack speed. I don't know if the attack speed matters for the break points. Again, maybe somebody wiser than me will let me know. But yeah, Flavor of Time, double pylons. Pylons get enemies with the Nemesis braces. Oh, and last thing on the follower, sorry, Gloves of Worship. Really big item because as you saw at the start of the video, the shrines were still left over from the rift that we had just done. So again, don't sleep on those. If you want to get a pair of these with int, either you re-roll them like I've done, or when you complete your bounties, you have an intelligence-based character. Again, they can be level 1 and they can open your bounty bags, and that should force the game to code them with intelligence. It works most of the time. That is the follower. Right, in terms of playstyle, it's pretty easy, the GOD. As we say, we're trying to keep the momentum stacks up, we're trying to keep squirts up, we're trying to keep the fortress up. I'm saving my first potion activation until I get to my first elite because I'm hoping to spawn the pink triune circle like this. Pop in that, that's a double damage, it's 100% extra damage. So that is your number 1 jumping point. Number 2 is, of course, the Oculus off the follower at 83% on this particular ring. We're also slamming Wolf Companion as soon as we get to our first elite for that extra damage. And then after that, we're probably just mashing buttons repeatedly, making sure that we keep our Vengeance up, making sure that we have got potion powers. So whether it's cooldown, the power pylon, which is on a very short duration. It's a very small power increase, but it is worth taking if you can get it. Jumping in the circles and then just bashing stuff. Now, 2-minute rift, you're going to need a nice map. Of course, you're going to need a Festering Woods, a battlefield, something like that. You're going to need to get lucky with not getting shielding on the enemies. You're going to need to get lucky with getting a power, a conduit, or a shield pylon, and you're looking to work that into the other 2. So if you get condi, you're hoping that leads to power. If you get power, you're hoping it leads to shield. Vice versa, those 3 are great. Speed pylon doesn't really do anything for us, and the cooldown pylon again doesn't really do anything. Not bad. They still obviously spawn mobs with the Nemesis braces, but really, if you're looking to smash a really fast time, you need those 3 power pylons because, as you can see, we're just basically stacking damage, and that's how we can get a 2-minute 120 clear. Doesn't happen every rift, of course not. You can get bad RNG, you can start off on a terrible map, you can get shielding, Juggernaut, Electrify, Waller, and you can get your speed pylon, and then you can get yourself a cooldown pylon, and you can have a slower run at the more kind of 3.5, 345 range. That's just how it is. Over time, it's going to even out, but the fact that you can do 120, 2 minutes, day 3 of the season, with this character, I think is pretty good. It's pretty good going. Yeah, so I hope you like it. Next up for me personally is going to be the Wizard. We need to get the Wizard built because I think whilst the Wizard speeds I don't anticipate being as fast as this in terms of just flat time, I think, you know, because obviously if you drop the GRs in this, you can probably blast the 110, 115 range in like 90 seconds to 2 minutes. I prefer the 3-minute ones, but that's like ultimately personal preference. But the Wizard, I think we might be actually getting nearer to like 130 with those speeds, but we'll have to see. I need to do some bounties because I've invested them all pretty much into this build, just trying to tidy it up for you guys today. Yeah, so that's it. That's the Demon Hunter. It kicks ass. Season 28 is rocking my world at the moment. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've been the Filthy Casual. I'll be back with some more videos real soon. Take it easy, guys. Peace.